Welcome to the New Discovery Christian Podcast, where you'll find Bible messaging and sermons that will encourage, uplift, and challenge you to a godlier life. Join our community and become inspired to continue living a God-directed life.
Welcome again to the New Discovery Podcast. Here I am, Kyle, as your host, and I got Parker with me, my co-host, and I got McKinley as my co-host today. So here we are. We're technically still in December, but we're recording for January. So we're going to kind of do like we did last year, and we had a lot of fun with it last year, is we're going to talk about just reflections on the last year, stuff like that, 2020 and how all that went and how that was interesting. And then we're also going to talk about, well, I guess I'm the only one who can talk about it from last time, resolutions and stuff like that. And did I actually do what I said, or did Kyle not do like what he said? So I guess we're going to find that out together. And then we're all going to talk about New Year's resolutions that we have for the next year. Well, if we do have them, we don't have them. Do we have any goals? Do we have any plans? What is it going to look like? What do we want in 2021? And how is the world going to look in 2021? So we can theorize about that, prophecy about that, and see what happens going from there. So I guess I'll start it off. I'll kind of warm the engines here.
What were your failed New Year's resolutions?
You're assuming they're failed. You're assuming they're failed.
Just curious.
So let me try to remember what mine were right now. Okay, so I know one of them that we discussed, and Javen agreed to this. I'm not sure if I completed this, but I did try this. One thing we talked about, and we even want to do a podcast on it, Javen definitely has to be here when we do that, is going too far with jokes and trying to work on that. That was a New Year's resolution for me and Javen, so we'll wait for Javen and his...
I think he definitely failed that one.
I got a feeling. So I'm trying to reflect on that. Now, I think it's interesting. I don't want to say too much because I've done a lot of reflection on this for a podcast. And like I tell people, I seem to be tempted in this area. And if you know me really, really well, you know that. So I had to think about that. And one of the things that I thought about were certain jokes that you do towards certain people land differently depending on how close you are to them, how well you know them. And I think that's one thing. It's not like, was I borderline with my joke? Was it a little dark? Because that always happens anyways. And it's not, as far as I know, it's not like morally wrong. And if you think that's different, you can put that in the comments. Maybe I can learn something. So I'm still trying to learn. But one thing I thought about was like, I started to notice is with certain people that I knew, if they were towards the acquaintance area, and they weren't, this may sound a little mean, they're not as like socially like comfortable as other people that I notice, even if they are a friend. I noticed like when I said something like that I would have said to you guys or like to Javen or Zach, it didn't land the same way with them. It came across because like they weren't socially in a spot to like do the same thing to me. Like we weren't socially on the same level. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but we like weren't. And like, so when I threw something out, it was like they couldn't do something in return. Like if someone else did it to me, they could do it in return. They could be kind of teasing or something like that back to me, and they know they can do that. But they couldn't. I was like, I noticed that came across as like, Kyle like crushed me in front of everyone. Does that make sense? And I started to just kind of notice that like people that are like that, like recognize it and maybe don't do that with people like that because it comes across as kind of wrong when I do it with them. But then like the same joke, I could do it to you guys and it's just like, oh, well, you know, I know what Kyle's doing there, and I'll get back at him in some other type of way or something like that.
It lands differently.
Yeah, and they know, those people know that I'm just playing around kind of thing. But these other people, I'm not sure they know I'm playing around. It came across as like, dang, man, like, what the heck? You just like threw me under the bus in front of everyone. It's like, you know, and I don't want to throw people under the bus kind of thing, especially if they're a friend. So that's like one thing that I recognize and I've gotten a little bit better at.
That was like your disclaimer to anybody watching that a joke landed wrong. Like, just FYI. By the way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that's happened.
I crushed you.
And I've worked on it.
Yeah, me and my friends, we would just roast each other. And then you meet a new friend and you like go for the joke, but doesn't quite land like you said.
Yeah, so that's one thing I recognize, and also like bagging on people too. Like
You just learned how to not to be a bully this year. Like how not
yeah.
to bully people.
Yeah, I would say that I didn't know that I was previously.
Or just not come across as a bully because you're not. Obviously, you don't have bad intentions. But
yeah, I don't have bad intentions. It's all just for like the laugh kind of thing, and you know, for them to laugh too. But it's like now I recognize everyone's not going to laugh at it, kind of thing. If I had done the same thing to Javen, I've done plenty of things like that. Like he understands, like. You know, first of all, I care about him. You know, I want the best for him. And he certainly knows he can do it back to me because he does it all the time. So it's kind of like an even basis if I did it. So, but some people, though, that's not the case. So I've worked on it. I've gotten better. I'm certainly not perfect yet. So I would say that's at least one of them in that area. I'm trying to remember what else. What else I had? I know that was like a major one that I had from last year, and at least I recognize I'm getting a little bit better at it, I would say.
I feel like everybody's is like to go to the gym. Am I wrong?
I think
everybody says they're going to get into
Mine wasn't.
Mine wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't go to the gym.
So
like you go to the gym, don't you? Like,
well, see, I was already going to the gym, so like I didn't do that. So I was like, I was already consistently going. Yours was?
Yeah.
Maybe we should go. Well, let's pan off to your guys' from last year. I mean, we didn't do the podcast on it last year, but what did you guys have last year? I'm just kind of.
I don't do New Year's resolutions.
Oh,
you don't really?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like I'm going to do something, just do it now. Why wait? Oh. So,
yeah,
I guess
true.
A real go-getter.
So from last year, I don't.
So there was nothing like going into 2020 that you were like, I can do better on this, or this is a goal of mine.
Or like in that zone going into the new year, like where you kind of like you knew there was some things you wanted to work on.
I guess. I started reading more. So I mean, I didn't have like a set like, oh, let me read this amount. Maybe like a book or two a month. It's kind of what I was. Kind of what I wound up doing.
Did that pan out? How did that go?
Well, I mean, averaged out. I think I was counting them the other day because I didn't know if this would come up. I think it was about 25. So. Now, some was like all the way through, some was like skim, so probably more like 20, 22 if we're going to be honest.
That's still like...
That was about, kind of,
you know,
it was more than I read in 2019, so there was progress made.
What percentage did you go up, you know?
It's a good question. See, I didn't really read much in 2019.
Okay.
Maybe like a few books.
Okay.
Maybe like 5 or 6.
So you went from a few to 22.
Yeah.
It's a big percentage. So, I can't do that in my head right now.
I can't do it.
You're an accountant, I'll maybe... let you do that.
Well, we have calculators and computers for that.
Oh,
so
dang. Well,
can't do it in my head either.
Guess we got to find.
So I better not tell you where I work. So
yeah.
May not give us your business.
Well, that's a good one, man. Sounds like you accomplished it. You know,
I like that one.
For as considering as vague as it was, I feel like it was.
I feel like it's like the 400%, or I mean,
yeah.
like
Oh no, it was nothing like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you went from a couple to 22, so that's pretty. It's pretty good. Percentage was pretty high on there. Anything else?
I was gonna start running again, and I ran throughout the summer, but then I hurt my foot.
Ooh.
And then I got sick, so kind of falling off. I ran some this week, but that one was I guess that one didn't pan out so well. Because I ran in high school, and I was never good for the record, but it was a lot of fun. So I'm trying to get back in like 5K shape. Yeah, cross country. My thing, I just don't want to get beat by like the little 8-year-old girls that run. Those kids can fly.
They can.
Like it's ridiculous.
They're rolling.
Destroys your self-confidence. Okay.
Yeah, there was this one. The last race I did, this was years ago, but this one elderly lady. I looked up her age after. She was in the like 55 to 65 group. I had to sprint to beat her. Like I refused. Like it was a pride thing, but she was booking it. So absolute savage.
It reminds me when me and Zach, there's a race in Memphis every year, and I love it because I love the zoo, first of all. So I love animals. I love the zoo. Grew up in California. San Diego Zoo was awesome. Like I always loved it as a kid. So when I go, it's like pure nostalgia, like flashbacks that go on. So like this goes through the zoo and like you can see the animals. It's like I can exercise and see the animals at the same time. It's like heaven on earth, essentially.
Yeah.
So I always go like every year with Zach, probably for 3 3 years. Of course, they didn't do it this year because good old Corona.
When is it
virus.
usually done? Roughly.
I want to say it's like right before the summertime, like
Okay.
so
Spring.
April, May, something like that. And every time we go to, it's like beautiful weather. It's like perfect. It's like 65 degrees, like no sun, which is good when you're running at least because you don't get so hot. But we were going through, and I remember as we were going, so typically me and Zach, at least for 2 years, we would train together, like at the track, we'd run in town, that kind of thing, like try to get pepped up for this 5 miles. And our main goal was let's run and not stop. Like if we can do that, like we can run throughout the entire thing and not stop, like we accomplished something. So we always had that as our goal. Now, Zach didn't practice with me this time. So, but I was like, Zach, you still want to go? And he's like, I think he was out of the gym too. He was out from running. Like he hasn't been exercising lately too. So like that. And I was like, dude, we do it every year though. So he's like on the line about going. Like he's just thinking, he's like, uh-oh, this may not go well. But I'm like pressure. I'm like, dude, come on, man. It's a tradition like between me and you. You gotta come. And he finally was like, all right, man, I'll come because we always do it. And it's something for us to do. And so we go. As soon as we first start, he's like, I don't know about this. I'm like, dude, we're half a mile in. it's 5 miles. Like,
Hey, that 5 miles ain't a joke.
yeah, it's not a joke.
Especially
So like,
if you've been out.
that's why I train. I try to
you
train
gotta,
for it.
You gotta work for that one.
And by the way, this was the one time it was not good weather. It was 90 degrees out. So we're used to like 65.
Oh.
So like
No.
no overcast, sun's beating down. It's kind of even rough on me, but we're half a mile in. He's like, I don't know about making a way through. So for context, I can get in a super competitive mode. So like I've trained for this and I'm like, I'm going to win this. Like, that's just like, that's the way I'm going into it. I'm like, I almost want to come in first in like my age group going into this time. Cause I tried to bust my butt training this time. And cause I was trying to like run past 5 miles when I would run before even going in this. So I'm like, man, I'm not just going to finish it this time. I'm just going to shoot the best I can. So half a mile in, he's already kind of like, I don't know. I feel a little pain in my side. And I was like, come on, man. I'll be right by you. I'm not gonna leave you or leave you behind. And so we're about 3 miles in. He's like, all right, man, we can keep going, but I just need a little rest. I'm like, all right. Just remember, you said it, not me. So technically, I could have kept going and you couldn't. He's like, all right, man. And so I just walk with him a little while. I'm like, all right, just a little rest. All right, let's keep running again. And then I start feeling bad for him because he's like holding his eyes, like, it's like running like that. I was like, man, you could be all right. He's like, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I'm like, ooh. Don't do it on me. And like everyone's packed together for context too. So like you projectile, you're gonna hit like 15 people. And I was like, just don't go to the left. Don't hit me on the left. Like hit those girls or that older lady to the right or something. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But he's getting bad. And he just keeps going. He's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. He's like, you may have to carry me. I'm like, carry you? I'm like, what you talking about? He's like, my head just feeling crazy. He's like, he's sweating, of course, but like sweating crazily
like
right
drenched,
now.
like,
well, yeah. And then he like rips his shirt off. He's like, I can't do this shirt. Just rips it off.
I mean, 90 degrees in Memphis. Like that's no joke.
Yeah, it was no joke.
Miles.
And so like he looks like he's gonna collapse. So I'm kind of feeling bad. But we're probably 4 miles in and we've stopped a couple more times. He's like, oh man, I don't know. I'm like, dude, we're on the final stretch. Like, I'm being honest with you. I'm not gonna walk across the thing. He's like, well, I guess it is what it is. He's like, and we stopped and we're walking. He's like, dude, you need to carry me, man. You gotta carry me. I'm like, I'm looking at like his sweaty body. I'm like,
I don't know how I would react if one of my friends like you.
I would
have
just
to
run off
carry
and
me.
leave. That's
Like,
why I don't run with people.
yeah, he was
have
like
to run by
serious, like
myself.
carry me. Like he looks like he's gonna collapse. I'm like, I don't know, man. You may need to put a shirt back on too. And I was like, dude, let's run the final stretch. Like you can do it. Let's do it. And we start running, and then he stops. He's like, oh, just stay with me, Con. I just ran and left him. I was like, no, man. I see like all these girls like passing me. They're like 8 years old, and like there's like 55 and 6-year-old ladies just like booking it past me. I'm like, it was like that competitive part of me. I was just like, nah, man, I just gotta keep going. I
Bite
gotta
the
finish
dust,
this.
bud.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sorry, man. I didn't even look back. I was just like, here I go. I'm like, sorry, I gotta do it.
Yeah, you gotta do for yours at that point.
I felt sort of bad because he crossed the finish line and like he's just like holding his side, just like. I'm like, I was like, Zach, you'll be all right.
Poor Zach.
He's like, once I go over there and get a Bud Light over there, I'll be all right. Because they give him out for free for context. Because like the carbs or something like that, I guess refuel you or something like that, and like bananas and all that. I'm like, hey man, as long as you don't die on me. Like,
No waters or Gatorades here.
yeah, no, they had waters and Gatorades. They had that too, and like barbecue and all this other stuff.
Oh, I couldn't eat barbecue after a 5-mile run in 90-degree weather.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling it. We sat down and I looked at it. I think I ate a little bit. I was like, I'm not quite feeling this. And then I think we left. I was just like, I was even like, my face was just super red, like a tomato. I was like, man, even I feel like I'm maybe can collapse. And like he's sitting down, like about to die. I'm like, maybe we should leave. It's like, they need to get you in an ambulance. So what context was that I just told?
Oh, we were talking about running and stuff. Yeah, and just to throw some more context on the little kid and the elderly lady.
Oh, I brought it up because of the kids and the elderly lady.
In that race, I finished third in my age group, and I'm 23. So, like, they were,
There you go.
I mean, I'm not saying that I'm any good, but, like, I wasn't, like, they were actually killing it. Like, I wasn't just, slouching.
I guess that's why I told that story. I said I saw the girls and the older. I think that wasn't really what cut it for me. It's when I saw a mom pushing a stroller and she was hustling, and I'm like, Kyle, in my mind, just like my mind, just the way it works. It's like, are you hustling, Kyle? Are you hustling? And I'm like, you're not hustling. You need to hustle. And so I was like, you need to go. And I just like left Zach behind. I'm like, she will not beat me.
Yeah. They're very motivated.
Child, you could do it too. You're in your 20s. Come on, get up. I'm just like. So then I left Zach. So I guess that's my life story.
He's gonna hear this.
Yeah. So Kinley, do you have any resolutions?
Oh, mine are really cliche compared to y'all's.
What was yours from last year? Did you have any?
Going into 2020?
Yes.
Because I don't remember anything before that.
Nothing.
Like, I don't remember
your
what
childhood,
I would have had.
your life.
So you had no life prior
to high school.
So December 31st,
I mean, I just don't
2019 is
remember
just a black
going
hole.
into 2019 and being like, these are my resolutions. Like, it was probably like, go to the gym. That obviously never happened. But I remember the ones from this going into this year. Don't laugh. Okay, don't.
Uh-oh, that's
Parkway.
that wasn't a good way to start this off.
I can't do it without laughing.
So my junior year, like, for context, I'm finishing up my first semester of my senior year in high school now. So last year, my junior year, which anybody will tell you, like, from high school, like, your junior year is rough. Okay, that's when they really pile on the work. Your classes get a little bit harder. Parker's like, no, not for me.
My junior year was my favorite year. We did nothing.
Okay.
Or I did nothing.
Sophomore year was my hardest, if I'm honest.
Everybody told me junior year was going to kick my butt, and it did.
Things have
What's your junior year of college?
Can't wait.
I need to ask Javen about accounting, because I think it's his junior year.
It's his junior year. Yeah. He goes into 2021. No, yeah, because he graduates in 2022, I think, if I'm doing the math right. So
because it's brutal, in my opinion. But I'm sorry. Keep continuing.
No, you're right, though. Yeah.
But I was kind of that student that, like, I never studied. All right. So, like, just throwing that out there, I never studied. Not for a test. I really didn't. I, like, kind of halfway did my homework. Like, like, I would do it, but I was the worst procrastinator.
When you first come into class kind of thing?
Or the night before. Or, like, staying up till, like, 3 a.m. to do it. I kid you not, but I was a straight A student all throughout, like, elementary school, middle school, up until, like, my sophomore, like, the end of my sophomore year. Straight A's, slept through class, did not pay attention, did not study, and then, like, did my homework, like, without even paying attention to what it was about. And I made really good grades. And so I guess, like, I just kind of thought, like, everybody was like, no, you can't do that. You're junior. Like, your classes do get harder. And so I was kind of aware of that. And I was like, it'll be fine. Like, it's fine. And if you've watched, like, one of the first episodes that we did earlier this year about our first job experiences, then you remember that I had, like, 3 jobs at one time my junior year.
I remember that.
yeah, I turned 16, and so my parents were like, you got to start working. So I got a job at a restaurant as a hostess, and then at the same time, within like the next month, I got a job working at a tea shop, and I would dog walk two to 3 days a week between jobs after school, on top of being a full-time student and going to church about 2 or 3 times a week. So my schedule's full.
Crazy.
And even if I wasn't that type of student, I wouldn't have had time to do anything else anyway. And like I led FCS and all of that. So my plate was full, and I was
You
like,
had
it's
9
fine.
jobs.
Pretty much.
I was busy. I was busy all the time, and I liked it that way. So I was like, school schmool, like I can do that. It's fine. It's easy for me. It was not. Like I had to start thinking about like my ACT. I had to start thinking about colleges. I had to start thinking about like I had to really make sure my grades were good, because like it's getting towards my senior year, and so
Yeah.
I have never made anything below like a B in a class. Like that was just not normal for me. And I'm not proud of this when I say this. I took a dual credit class, which if you're watching this and you live somewhere else where you don't know where that is, it's like you're in high school and you take a college class and your credits transfer over. So I was taking one of those for like a local community college. And I failed it because I like put it on the back burner. The class was with a 64. I did one assignment and my final through the entire class. That's all I did. So I failed the class with a 64. I was not proud of that.
64. That 1 point.
Oh yeah. I did 2 assignments. I made a 50 on my final, and I did half of the first assignment of the class for 9 weeks. I didn't do any of it, and I was so ashamed of that because I knew that I could do better. And I've never made anything below an 85. And so I failed that. I had 2 C's in my other classes, like low C's, like borderline failing, and barely a B in my last class. And I was always late to everything. I was always unprepared, unorganized. And to say like it really took a toll on like my mental health and the way that I like went about things and stuff. It was awful. So going into 2020, I like made myself a promise that I would be more organized, that I would be more prepared for things, like that if I was going to have a busy schedule, I needed to be able to handle all of it and handle it well, and not to like overcrowd my plate just because I could, because I was booked like hour to hour every single day, like 30-minute naps here and there, and that was it. And it was just awful. So going into 2020, I did that, and I did it a lot better. I said no to things that I knew I probably couldn't handle at the moment. And I gave myself grace for things that, like I would not punish myself or beat myself up for not being able to do this, and this all in one day. And I got my grades up, and now I've had like the end of my junior year, because it happened the first semester of my junior year is when I did poorly in all of my classes and stuff. And so the end of my junior year and this whole first semester of my senior year, I've had all straight A's. I've been doing my normal stuff, but not just like putting so much stress on myself and everything. And that was something that I'm proud that I still accomplished and I kept with and stuff.
That's really good.
That's a good, that is a very good skill to have, time management, and like not, like saying no is huge.
Oh, yeah.
Especially because I like
especially
being
like
busy.
learning that young too. Like it'll come in handy.
Getting that, because the things that were coming into my mind is when I was thinking about that. Well, first of all, I was the opposite. I played around in school too long in the classroom and just cutting jokes and stuff like that all the way
that's
up
what I
to
cared more
sophomore.
about.
Yeah, I cared too much about that and playing around, and that got me in trouble because then I had to flip it in 11th and 12th grade because I was like, all right, you need to get in high gear when your grades are a minimum of C in every class and getting close to a D and you're about to graduate, you need to stop. I still played around, but it was like the focus needed to shift. It was like, all right, you need to know when to not be cutting up in class the whole time. You're not paying attention what's going on. You're doing something with your buddy over there or someone else. You're shooting a spitball at someone, like putting kick me signs, and you're more focused on that. It's like you need to like settle down a little bit, and you need to buckle down because college is coming here in a minute. And so and like saying no to things and stuff like that happened as well, and getting the discipline down, getting to sleep and stuff like that. Like I needed to get in that zone, and thankfully it boosted my grade up, I think, to almost like I was almost a D to like a B graduating because like I did not want to go with like a D average going into college. Like that couldn't happen. So
Yeah, my GPA dropped from like a straight like 4.0 to like a 3.0, like a whole point. It just dropped in one semester. And like with the saying no to things came like that, the organized and being prepared and being on time, like doing that for myself and, you know, eliminating all of that extra stress and stuff. That was kind of like my physical goal, like to study more, to be more prepared, to keep like a planner, to not just like rely on memory for all of my busy stuff and everything. And, you know, like you don't need 3 jobs. You can have 1 job and be okay. That was like my physical goal. And so the saying no to things kind of went into like the mental goal that I set for myself, which like I feel like some people don't really understand what I might be saying, but it was to wake up, like do my best to wake up in the mornings and say, and be grateful for something. Okay. Like not just wake up and automatically be unhappy or be like, you know, this isn't going to be a good day, or this is going to be a really long day or a stressful day, or, oh, I have a test. I have to work for 7 hours today. Like this is going to suck. Like, or at least wake up and be positive about something. And so that was like my first and foremost like mental goal for myself, was to be more grateful, more optimistic, more positive, more joyful, and live that way, because I knew that like, you know, you can't, I don't know.
we're following you.
Yeah.
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 We're following you.
You know, it made my year a lot better. And I think everybody kind of needed that this year, especially like, you know, to be a little bit more joyful about things or celebrate little things and little victories instead of, you know, being so stressful and stuff like that. So I was proud of that.
Man, Kinley, you're ahead of the game, because if I'm honest, what's hitting you right now didn't hit me until probably early college. I mean, I don't know about you.
My
Parker.
junior year in college.
Yeah,
So
I would say
you got like 5 years on me.
yeah,
4
so,
years.
yeah, you're ahead of the game, because it was like early college for me, to where it hit me hard with the discipline and the saying no. Because when I first started here as like a youth leader, you know, I'm only recently a youth minister. Like, you always just try to say yes to everything kind of thing. And you just, you know, you're more on the side of just, you know, you get a confusion of saying yes to something is like, that's good and you're doing something right with everyone and you're a giver. And so like, I remember that was one thing that I had worked on a year, kind of like what you're talking about. And because someone said this to me, someone probably, I mean, much more wiser than me, said, when you say no to something, you say yes to something else. And then that's when they said that to me, everything clicked in place. And I was like, you got to be able to say no to things in your life, because if you're planning something else with someone else and something else is going over here, or you're going to study, or you're going to try to get to sleep, or you set a date with someone else, if you're doing this over here and you say yes to this person, you're saying no to this over here. So it's like, then how do I choose? And that question, how do you choose? I would say it's one of the big top 5 things that changed my life, I would say. Because then I prioritized what I value in my life. And then asking the question, what do I value? What should I value? And does my word mean something? When I tell someone I'm going to be there, that started to really work as well. Yeah. Now, if I don't say I'm going to be there, then I may or may not be there. But if I say I'm going to be there, it started to put me in that zone. Then so help me, I'm going to be there. And that really changed my relationships with people too, and how I conducted myself in work and things like that, and at school, and planners, things like that happened too, where I was just like scatterbrained. I would just like, let's shoot from the hip with everything. And when you shoot from the hip with everything,
I get that.
You miss.
Yeah. You're not aiming for anything. You're not
really
going to hit
where
it.
it's gonna.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. And my mind was just more in chaos, like every day about things. And once I got like a planner down, I write down what I will do in a month. I do a month ahead of time. I don't do more than that, because you really don't know. For me, at least, I don't know what's going to go beyond a month. So I do a full month, and then I do a week. and then the day before I do a day. And so when I started to like get that habit down, it was like this chaotic, stressful anxiety that didn't need to be there with everything that was going on in the day. It was like it like went away. Now there's some things that happen in my life where chaos is just and that's happened recently. Just a storm just blows through and so many things are hitting you.
Because life happens.
Yeah. But my whole life isn't defined by that any longer. It's like when those storms hit, now it's like I'm much more capable to take care of it, and it's a shorter time, and it's like it's not crippling me. Whereas in like before, it was just crippling me between like, especially when I had a job at Sports Authority, I was doing 40 hours a week, and then I was doing night classes full time at Northwest, and then I was a youth leader here, and like I put it all together. It was like beyond 80 hours a week, and like I had no social life. It was like all wake up in the morning, go in your job at 6 a.m., take a nap, go to the gym, work out, go to your night classes, rinse and repeat. And like that was, and I always told everyone, I don't have enough time for this. I don't have enough time for this.
I mean, it's not sustainable.
No.
And like that's the mindset that I had, and I remember like it like you said earlier, like it didn't have to be at the end of 2019 when I realized that. Like it was probably somewhere even earlier than that. Like it was probably around going into I guess it was like it started like the second semester of my junior year. So it wasn't like I started my senior year like, oh, I have all these goals now. Like I realized it halfway through the year, like something needs to give. But it was like I but I gradually started feeling like, okay, I'm doing this, and this. I'm not sleeping or eating right. I have no social life. And I felt like everybody would say, you know, you're like, yeah, you're doing great. Like you're, you know, a little workaholic, like you're a hard worker and you're always happy and stuff like this. But then I realized that I'd rather be joyful about things that like truly do bring me joy, like spending time serving or spending time with like friends that, you know, have a positive impact on me, or doing things that really, really do like, you know, I consider blessings, no matter how small or big they are, than just being happy with how my life is going because I'm busy and I'm packed and I'm, you know, like I'm doing it all. I'm handling everything just fine. And so like with that, the saying no to some things, you know, also not only did it like kind of humble me, I feel like, into, you know, being a better friend, being a better girlfriend, being a better sister and daughter and employee and friend, but also like I became more honest. You know, I've always prided myself on being a really kind, compassionate person. And I can say that honestly because I knew that no matter what I said or did, I would always try and say it with kindness. And I prided myself on that, but sometimes I would do that so much to where I wasn't being honest with other people. And with that, like, you know, I went to a public school and I had, you know, in high school, obviously, things happen, like people talk about you, or there's always drama or something like that, or the other. And so it became to the point where everybody's like, there's no way she can possibly just be that nice. Like she must be fake or she must be this or this. And so I realized like, you can't just always be overly nice. You can't always be overly sweet. Like sometimes there's a layer to it where you have to be honest with people, and you can't just keep saying yes to everybody because you want to be nice, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely makes sense.
And so it made me into somebody who wasn't a doormat any longer and wasn't just like, oh yeah, I can take on that too. I can take on this. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can pull that double shift. And yes, I can help you with your homework tonight, or all of this stuff. I said yes to so many things that I was so stressed out and I was so overworked and I was so exhausted and I felt like I was drowning all the time. And I realized that sometimes you have to celebrate little things, and it's your life that you're living, and like God gives you grace every single day to, you know, make the most out of the life that He's given you, and so you don't want to waste it like that.
Yeah, that's really great.
That was kind of a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, but it was good.
that was
that was
good.
needed.
I mean, there's so much there. I mean, one thing that you said is, I kind of mentioned it with saying no, but the part I really like is because a lot of people need to hear this, especially if they're in high school or in college age. I mean, people older than this too. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, honestly, a lot of our audience, at least half, maybe 60%, are older than 30 years old. So I shouldn't just say teenagers and young adults, because like at least half are adults here.
Mm-hmm.
So they're listening in, and they've already told me they've gotten stuff at this as well. And one thing that I thought about that you said is not. I may be putting words in your mouth possibly, but what it reminds me is not caring as much if people like you.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be
Yeah.
kind of honest?
Yeah.
And I remember that's kind of that the whole saying no thing is a part of not caring as much about if people like you. It's more about, are you, being genuine, trying to live your life to the fullest, and then people are just included in that. And one thing that I thought about is because when I first started in ministry, and every minister, especially when you first start, your mentality is, if people like me and I always agree with them and I always do what they say, it's like you're accomplishing something. And like everyone more or less gets messed up in that zone because you're supposed to be a servant. So your mindset is just say yes to everything, do everything they want, and just please them, and everything's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a fallacy, though, because you won't do things that possibly could hurt people's feelings, but possibly hurting people's feelings, maybe standing up for someone else, possibly. And if you're not doing that, God's word says, stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves, speak up for those who can't speak up for themselves. You're going to hurt some feelings when you do it, because you're standing up against someone else, but that's what God's word says. So then one day I had to ask, am I going to stand up for God's word says, or am I just all about making people happy, pleasing them, giving
What the world says
yeah,
instead.
what the world says, and just care. And then I was like, oh, I'm caring more what people, if they like me. I'm like, now it's cool if people like me,
Yeah.
but is that the
Is that
end
your
goal?
priority,
Right. And it's like,
to make sure that you're liked?
and one thing that I thought about is, as a story, I guess, is here in the youth building. I won't say any names and exactly who was all involved, but it reminds me of a story of one day here. So it's kind of a simple thing, but in a way it's not. So I'm kind of the leader here as the youth minister. So I need to be the one who coordinates things, who brings order to things, and stand up for people and things like that, and organize it. That's up to me. The buck stops with me. So I remember one day I was simply asking someone, because we get in a circle and we're going to discuss things and stuff like that. And someone wanted to sit like way off from the group, away from everyone else. And I was like, I need you in the group, because it was a distraction, them being outside of the group. Like, it was clearly distracting. Everyone was looking at them. It was distracting from what we needed to do. So, sometimes I make exemptions. It's not a big deal, then whatever. But if it's distracting, I was like, all right, I need you in the circle somewhere. And, I just said it kind of, very, I wasn't getting angry. There was nothing in my voice the first time I've told you this story.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's just like, I need you in the group, find a spot wherever you want to go. I don't really care. It's more, I just need you in the group somewhere, and just make your way in there. And they just said straight to my face, no. And I just left a pause. I allowed it to get awkward. And I didn't get angry at the next word I said, but I was trying to get my intentions across. And I was like, you will find a spot in this circle. And now they had a crooked smile on their face and said, no, I'm not going in the group. Well, 3 times you're struck out. And I was like, here's the way things are going to go down here in a minute. You're going to find a spot in this group, or you're going to go into the building and you're going to go sit with your parents, and it's going to be awkward. It's going to be distracting next to them. And you're going to be embarrassed from everyone in here. Or you can go in the kids area and sit with the kids. And if you don't do that, I'm going to leave here, and it's going to be awkward in here. And I'm going to go grab your parent, and we're going to walk in here, and I'm going to tell them to grab your hand and escort you out back with the other parents. So
You tell him.
I was just like, those are the options. Take your pick.
Mm-hmm.
Grab the chair, one in the group. I was like, all right, sweet, let's get started. So, and I tell that story just because when I first started here, there's no way I would have done that. It's just, there's no way. I would have allowed a distraction to have happened because I was too worried about whether people liked me or not. But people afterwards, now someone may think, oh, well, Kyle was mean. Kyle was bad by doing that. And so some people may think that. They may be in that, I care too much what people like about me. They would think that. And I used to somewhat think like that. But here's the thing is everyone including that person, because we're on good terms. In fact, we left there and we're having a good time and we laughed and we're joking. So like they knew me. They knew I cared about them. And everyone says, and since then has been more open in the youth group, me doing that. They're more open, they're more honest because they know that I'm not going to allow bull crud to be in the group essentially. And they know that I'll step in for them. Essentially, I'll stand up for them when they can't do it for themselves and I'll speak up for them because everyone was thinking the same thing. But I was the one who said it though they couldn't. And in my mindset, that's scripture. And everyone, ever since then, everyone in there knows that you can be safe here because I'll stand up for you, even if you can't. And so I think that's the mindset though. Obviously you could take that away from the youth group. And are you someone who stands up for those that are around you that you care about? I think that's the question. Yeah. And it's more towards love because you want the best for them in the end. It's not about trying to be mean or put them down. It's you want the best for them. And sometimes some feelings may get hurt along the way, but even that person understands what I did. And that's a big thing in life. And some people haven't quite gotten it right because you can run yourself like a rabbit in a wheel until you just collapse and die essentially. Yeah. And that's just not where you want to be. Maybe we should move on to this coming year. So what are kind of the goals? And then we can kind of maybe leave it off on that. And the one thing initially that I think about going into this next year, for me at least, is so one of the last ones for context of last year, I forgot, there was an exercise thing last year, but I was already exercising, but it was doing at least something every day. Not just because of my physical body, it was more of like a mental thing to get rid of the stress. And I've gotten to a spot where I habitually have done that eventually. So now this year, now that being said, I didn't go into the gym as much as I wanted to. And so my excuses were I could do everything at home. The truth is you can't. And so I'm at the moment where I'm going to make sure that I get into the gym more and do some other exercises that I can't do at home or at the track and those kind of things. So that's going to be one thing that I'm going to get more in a routine of going into this next year. And then another thing is I'm going to limit more and more things like YouTube, any type of media, and social media in my life. I haven't quite nailed down exactly how I'm going to do that, but that's something that I want to reduce more and more in my life because more and more I reflect on something that my parents said when we were younger is when the electricity always went out, they had a saying, and it's only until now that it's kind of like hitting me. They say, we're now doing the things that we should be doing in our lives and what's most important. When they always habitually said that and never really stuck with me when I was younger, but it's now sticking with me now. And I think that's so true is I notice the more and more I don't allow those things to be a habit in my life, I do the things that are meaningful and purposeful in my life. Mm-hmm. And so again, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that. I've got a few ideas. I'm not going to say them because I may not do that exactly, but I want to reduce those things to a large degree to not being habits in my life. Again, I don't know exactly how to do that, but I think that's a big thing right now in my life, I think, to do.
Yeah.
So that's one of them at least.
You said like on your YouTube and on your phone and stuff?
Yeah, like YouTube. I mean, I don't play video games like I used to.
One thing you can do that's helped me is change your colors on your phone to black and white. it'll make you. Apparently, that's how they do it in
Really?
Vegas. That's why they have all the colors and stuff because it makes it addictive, like slot machines.
Interesting.
So if you change it to black and white, you'll spend less time on it. Yeah, I swear it works.
I'm doing it right now.
Really?
So the screen time on mine has plummeted.
I mean, there's
Wow.
also if you want to talk about
So I mean, it's
screen
just
time
something, just an idea to throw out.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
if you want to talk about like the screen time thing and changing your colors and stuff, there's a new thing. I don't even know if it's new actually. You can go in your settings, which this is kind of like hard to do. Like you think this sounds good and then you're like, do I really want to do that? But if you really want to keep yourself accountable, you can go into your settings if you have an iPhone. I don't know about Android or Samsung.
I got an iPhone.
Exactly. I mean, sorry if you don't. Anyway,
I used to be an Android person.
sucked.
iPhone again.
Sorry.
So
So there's this thing in your settings that I've seen where you can limit your screen time. Like you can actually restrict it. Like your phone, it can limit your social media. So you can limit certain social media or apps at all. Like you can go into your settings. You can click on your Instagram, your Snapchat, your Facebook, your Twitter, your TikTok, whatever you lean into most that has become a habit. You can restrict it. You can. And it limits your screen time. It gets you off of your phone instead of just like being in it for hours and hours at a time and, not even realizing it. You can do that.
yeah, I should note to everyone.
Little pro tip.
I'm definitely not like, they may be thinking this, is Kyle just like on all this stuff just like all day long, like for hours and hours and hours? I'm definitely nowhere near addicted. I'm nowhere near everyone else that you hear. What I don't like, and it's not social media, it's not texting or anything like that. What gets me is probably the YouTube, and I have a justification for it. And the justification is a lot of the things that I watch on there can be like documentaries, things in psychology, philosophy. So my
Things that, like,
excuse,
feed you mentally.
yeah,
in a
it's,
sense.
and my excuse can be, well, that's kind of just like reading and study. And it's a half truth. But then it comes to a degree where, oh, well, I'm going to start clicking on these funny videos and this comedy afterward. And then you spiral into this non-planned time. And then you're like, well, I was only supposed to watch that for like an hour. And it's like, I've been here for 4 hours. And it's just like, that doesn't always happen, but that's a problem to me, that it happens much more often than that should. So it's not social media for me, and that may be for some people. But it's more the YouTube, and it's that justification in there, and it's somewhat true. But at the same time, it's disruptive to my life and schedules and making time for other people. And I notice when I do that and that happens, I don't make time for other people. Or phone calls with certain people that are important for me to do phone calls with them. Something's going on with them. I reluctantly say sometimes it'll just be like, now I don't do that all the time, but sometimes like someone needs to call me and a lot of stuff is going on in their life. It's like, well, I know that'll be an hour phone call. And then, now sometimes I can be legitimate and not pick up the phone call, but with this, it's like, this can be reduced. Sometimes they may call and I'm at a birthday party or something. Well, I'm not going to pick that call because my focus isn't in on that person where I am. Mm-hmm. So that's different than what I'm talking about here, where it's like, that would have been more important if this wasn't becoming more of a focus in my life than it should. So it's kind of more in that range. Kyle's not sitting on his phone for 18 hours in a cave and you never see him again. So it's not quite like that, but
I mean, it, in your defense and in everybody's defense, like it sounds like something, I don't even know how to put that. Like it sounds like something that's really easy to do, but we use technology in such a way it's like so overused. Like we are constantly like even if you just have free time, like I don't know about you guys, but like I check my phone in my free time between work or on a break or before I go to sleep, the first thing when I wake up, and that can all be limited and stuff, and it would probably be a good thing, but it's been normalized so much that it's just like, oh, like why would I need to like spend time off of my phone?
I should note what the statement that got me into this zone was. Well, first of all, my parents, but there's another one too. And it was kind of like a study on technology and how it's advanced and how we use it now. And actually, you'd have to watch a documentary. It has to do about Japan and what's happened to them and why suicide rates are up and depression and things like that. Like they're the highest suicide rate in the not Western world, but in the civilized world, if that highest GDP countries, I think that would be the most accurate way to say it. And they looked into why. And that was a big reason of why. Now, some of what we're talking about earlier about work and how they treat that, and I mean, they're workaholic to another degree, but the same thing with no face-to-face with people. I mean, they're so scared that they won't even have a next generation coming up because you have past 60% who don't even want to have kids. And it's like, whoa, what's going to happen to your civilization in the next 50 years? Who knows what's going to happen? That doesn't sound good. And so they did a documentary on this, and one guy said, the problem is when technology came out, we thought it was going to be, let me make sure I say this right. We thought it was going to be a complement to our lives. It was going to be a complement to our relationships and our lives that were there. So a complement. But what has happened is it's become the focus. And that's a different thing. And we didn't think that was going to happen. We thought it was going to complement our relationships and a sense of community and family and things like that and grow those bonds. I mean, it's like it says, social media. We thought it was going to grow the social bond. But what has happened is, sadly, and I'm not saying technology is bad by any means, because I mean, I think it has the ability to be a complement to our lives. But what has happened is it become the focus, though. Mm-hmm. So, and that's, for me, what I've noticed and kind of been in that zone.
Yeah.
So, one thing I think before we end is, what about you, Parker, for the next year?
My biggest goal is just pass the CPA exam, which is certified public accountant. So, career goal.
Sweet. So you're just making sure you work on that, the studying and all that?
Yeah, trying to chip away at least 2 to 3 hours a day studying. So,
cool.
See how that goes.
All right.
Sounds thrilling.
Oh, it is a joy.
It's a joy.
Sorry, Parker.
It's all good.
And Kinley, you got any final remarks before we go out? New year?
It'll be my graduating year. So I'll be finishing high school.
Nice. That'll be a big year.
Mm-hmm. So I want to, make the most out of the last half of my senior year. I really want to eat cleaner. Like, that sounds like such a weird one, but I really do.
You going to go keto?
Put some salt in your coffee?
Of course not. No. But I have always been that person that, like, goes out to eat way more than they should. So definitely limit that. I was definitely thinking about, like, limiting social media and stuff and restricting my phone time to a good degree. I was thinking about that for a while. Probably not going to go to the gym. Maybe exert.
It's like how you said
myself.
that. I'm not going to the gym. That's my New Year's resolution.
You guys, I've never set foot in a gym. I like running. I like jogging. I enjoy it. I'm probably not going to go to the gym.
They got treadmills.
Yeah, I like running on a treadmill.
I do.
I would die before I ran on a treadmill.
Sorry, guys. But yeah, that probably maintain relationships a little bit better. Like friendships, family relationships, It's weird because I feel like I'm starting to grow up. Like, obviously I'm not grown, but it's really important to me to stay in touch with my family, to spend time with my friends and family and maintain those relationships and stuff. Spend more time with God, maintain that relationship in a healthy way. And that's all I got right now.
Sweet. I think that's good stuff. We definitely feel
drive better.
Drive. We need to have a podcast on driving. I need to hear some
I need to be a
stories
better
about
driver.
that. So thank you for joining in on the podcast with us today. Hopefully you got something out of this podcast and kind of what we've reflected on from the past and what we're thinking about in this new year. And maybe you want some of the ones that we've had or we're going to have as your New Year's resolutions, and maybe you connect to some of those. And man, we really hope you do. And if you got any New Year's resolutions, put those in the comments and let us look at those, because I'm definitely willing to still grow and try to grow my character, grow myself as a man, as a Christian, just as a person. So I would definitely like to look at that and what you guys are doing or accomplished. So again, Happy New Year's to you guys, because this will be the New Year's. It's December for us, so, still waiting for Christmas. So waiting for that, but it's New Year's for you as you watch this. So Happy New Year's to you guys. And
hope you had a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I hope you had a Merry Christmas. We're about to find out, I guess. So until next time, we'll see you.